didn't get the glasses.
Oh, hello. Oh no, I forgot about my sunglasses. They're downstairs because I went for a walk
Damn.
yesterday. Oh man. Well, you're in style and ready to go. I do have my drink here in my
Let's
Beetlejuice
go.
tiki mug,
Woohoo!
so we're good to go. Today we're drinking hot chocolate because I don't know, it felt right for. It's noon. I was like, it felt right for the morning, but it's noon here. And it's night where you are, so we're having hot chocolate.
Hello.
Hello, friends. My name is Andrew Hochradel. Would you like to introduce yourself, Kladi?
Yes, sure. My name is Kladi, and I'm an Italian designer based in Manchester, UK. We were just chit-chatting, and we're going to keep chit-chatting for the entire stream. And I'm very happy to be here with Andrew. I always follow the stream. I usually in the chat when we are doing our mentoring with the Illustrator DCC or during the other amazing stream with Duel. So I can see also Julia in the chat, so
Hi,
the
Julia.
full family is here. And Duel,
Duel,
we're
man.
all here.
Yes, all these people are streaming today too. So Julia was just on before us, and let's go straight to the schedule at the beginning. Why not?
Yes.
Julia was just on before us. After us, we have our friend Peter Daltondo. He's not in chat, but he still loves us. And Peter will be here doing the XD challenges right after this. Stay tuned. I'll be doing a giveaway at the beginning of his stream. And then Kyle T. Webster is on after that. And then we're back with Voodoo Val and I. If you missed yesterday, boy, it was a whole thing. I dressed up like Chun-Li. She dressed up like Ryu. She had like the eyebrows and the bandana, and we were working on video game packaging. So tune back in at 3 o'clock for the continuation of that. I'm making something that is incredibly ugly, but really, really fun. So make sure you tune in for that. I want to talk about a few things, Kladi, before we hop in. And I can't talk about too many things because, boy, I talked about too many things yesterday. Let's go ahead. I'm going to hop over to my browser and show you guys where you can get involved with our daily creative challenges. Again, Julia is doing these today. You are working on creating and applying a 3D effect to a poster layout. Super fun. We're going to make some posters today, probably. I don't know how much 3D we'll be using, but we'll be making some posters. And you can get that at behance.net/challenge/illustrator. And Kladi, my favorite part of the stream, will you help me point to where people need to go right here, bit.ly/AI Discord. It is really weird seeing Kladi in the other screen on her green screen and then seeing me in the monitor and both of us just going like this for no reason. But you guys get to see the magic of live television where it's all pieced together.
Oh my gosh, I'm actually going to take a little photo of it and then we can publish it later.
We are across the world. I am in California, Southern California. Like I said, Kladi, where are you?
I'm in Manchester, UK.
There we go, Manchester, UK. So let me just know where you're from in chat, because I think that we're pretty much worldwide here on Adobe Live. And yes, we do this every day. If you guys are just joining us for the first time, every single day, 8 to 3, there is content. Right after the 3 o'clock stream, at 4 o'clock, there is often content from our friends in Australia. So if you want to hang out, 4 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, sorry, I know we're around the world, 4 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, you can watch some of their streams with our friend Flynn Tracy and the Australia streams. It's not upside down. We actually flipped the feed, so it's perfect so that you can still watch here in the States. But yeah, tune in for that. So, Kladi, do you want to talk a little bit about what we are working on? So
today I'm going to be a little bit quiet, as you can tell. I was just telling to Andrew that I started my day, because of course here in the UK is 8 p.m. As you probably know, I can see a lot of people from Europe as well, Austria, and we got Crystal from France, Eldalia from the UK. So you already know that from this side of the world is evening, and I spent my morning in the garden. So today I'm gonna be literally a little bit slow. I didn't even catch the beginning of the stream. I still thought that we were in the intro because I think I had too much sun. So I think that the sunglasses are more appropriate than ever today. But the reason why we're wearing sunglasses even yesterday to start our stream is because we're creating a fun brand for a boozy ice cream. And if you want to switch to my screen real quick,
absolutely.
I'm just gonna start just quick recap. So the beauty of having two designers that approach a brand and a product in a different way is to see how we can position into the market the brand. So Andrew is going for an edgy, sugary, syrupy, boozy brand of boozy ice cream, where I'm going for a more fruity, standard, entertaining, fun, cool, summery feel. So that's why the sunglasses, besides the fact that I'm very good with those lights, and that today I took way too much sun anyway. So
It is true.
I apologize in advance for any moment of absent mind that I'm gonna
All right, so yes, we are working on 2 different ice cream brands. Well, the same boozy ice cream brand, but making 2 completely different brands out of that. Claudia, do you want to show a little bit of what you were working on yesterday? And then I'll show a little bit about where I'm going with mine as well.
Sure. So yesterday I started with some mood board, because as we've seen, we do have different approaches in the way we tackle the branding process. So I start by defining the core value and the culture of the brand, and then develop the concept and the word, translating them into images to really have a feeling of the environment where the brand is going to be exposed to. So in terms of use, in terms of what sort of correlate activity and experiences will be, but also what the brand is really about. So a warm, fun, vibrant, juicy brand. And then I jumped into Illustrator, where I started to use my mood board in order to grab a color palette and play with some font. And I think that I've done some different options, but I really stuck with these tipsy chills, which is a chunk typeface that reminds me of the big chunk of fruit that we're going to find in our fruity, healthy, boozy ice cream, and tipsy because, of course, there's alcohol. What about you, Andrew?
Yeah, so my brand is a little more edgy and a little more out there. So mine is called Sauced. And so mine is going after the frat boy that wants to have ice cream to drink, wants to have basically shots and cones. And so mine is going to be very abrasive, kind of punk rock. We'll get into some of the treatments today. Edgy, bold, thick, strong, torn, hungover, swiggly was one of my keywords. And so I started to work with typefaces. I usually start with type and build my system out of that. Started to make some taglines, getting chocolate sauced, make it a double, like a double scoop, lick booze. And so kind of played around with that, pretty pleased with the cherry on top, and then made some type treatments for the word sauced for the name of the company. And eventually we landed on a little icon that was a waffle cone with some chocolate dip with like a drink in it, with those ice cubes kind of floating. So we've played around with that idea. I think it's going to translate much better to a photographic kind of way. So we're going to play with that today. Be a lot in Photoshop today, actually, going back and forth.
Same here. And by the way, Andrew, when you were describing your brand, I was really feeling in my college times.
Yep, 100%.
A lot of memories were like submerging. So
yes.
I've done a crazy, because of course I'm from Italy, and I've been in Europe the majority of the time, but I spent many summers in the US. So there are specifically like some summer school that I've done in Tampa, Orlando, and New York that are kind of like coming back into memories. Yes. That was your giggling.
Exactly. So we're going to be working side by side. If you guys are confused about why there are so many screens, my screen is up here. Claudia's screen is floating above her head. And these screens, we both screen for ice cream. So we're going to get started. These are ice cream screens. We're going to get started and kind of just jump in. Where are you starting today, Claudia?
So first of all, I'm going to go back into my mood board logo development in Illustrator, and then I'm going to start to create the asset. But pretty quickly, I'm going to move in Photoshop as well. Going to look to create an Instagram advert, possibly an animation as well, and probably going to have some video directly from stock, and also, if we have time, some packaging, always using Photoshop and Adobe Stock. And just real quick, if you want to follow the sort of process that I use, not because it's right, it's just what I do, and I'm here to share my workflow and my process. I created these mood board for logo development as a free resource for you. So if you wish to follow along and maybe create your own, make sure to go to iamkladi.com/resources, and it's this one over here. I'm going to zoom in even more. Thank you so much, Andrew. I see that you put my screen on. So it's logo development stage 1, and you can also watch the replay for yesterday and for today. The links are going to be here. Oops. And I just see, I told you it was going to be absent-minded. So it's iamkladi.com/resources, and you'll be able to download the logo development. So let's get started, or let's get started from you. What are you
Cool.
gonna
So what I'm
from?
getting started on is I am going to put us two up so we can see. I'm just on Adobe stock, and I know that I need a ton of ice cream cones for my idea. The idea that I want to play around with for my promotion, I'm going to do a little bit more campaign work today, is I want to have people like toasting drinks, but then kind of like punk rock, like torn paper over the drinks, and make them into ice cream cones so that it becomes like kind of this layered. I'm probably going to add some like stitching and kind of edgy stuff. So we're going to play with that. So I'm looking for stock images of ice cream cones. I want different toppings, different kinds. And so I'm really looking for an image that has a bunch of different ice cream cones so that I can leverage them in different ways. And super easy on Adobe stock to do that.
So in the meantime, I was navigating through Behance, and of course, I had a meta image of us behind us. But what I'm looking at is I was doing some research to find some ice lolly, because again, just to push more the contrast, because at the end, you guys are going to have to vote for the winner of the brand. I really want to push it, in terms of differences. And of course, as you've seen, Andrew has gone with more of like an ice cream and the cone. Well, I decided to go for an ice lolly just to stick with the healthiness. So, we have no creams, but we have more like ice and fresh fruit, and of course, booze. So while I was looking for some nice mock-up, of course, I'm going to show you how you can create your own, starting by an Adobe stock photo or any photo that you can find possibly on a white background. But I stumbled upon a studio, which is called, if I remember well, which is searching it now on Behance, Studio Yorktown. I don't know about you, Andrew, but I do use Behance very often, sometimes just for mood boards and just to find inspiration. But in this case, it worked even better, because Studio Yorktown actually has an amazing popsicle Photoshop mockup, which I'm going to be using today. I cannot share it with you because they are selling it and is available directly from their Behance page. It's got amazing items, so that's something that I'm going to use because I don't want to fake it. I do use a lot of mockups that other people do. Sometimes I buy it, sometimes it happened to me that I also buy it just to see what they've done in order to deconstruct other people's work and understand the workflow and maybe build my own. But there is always an option. We can learn how to create ourselves. I will probably spend a full day to really done it to the extent that Studio Yorktown has done it. They've done an amazing, fantastic job. So I'm going to use theirs at the end just to speed up the process, because I really want to focus into the advert and not only on the mockup. Otherwise, I'll be like 2 days of mockups just to do the ice lolly.
Exactly.
But it's there for you if you want.
I'm just doing kind of the punk rock edge. I'm cutting this out, and I want it to have a rough edge. And you'll see in a minute here, I was looking for torn paper because I know that I want it to be torn and like put on. I'm just going to make the torn paper myself. So I'll show you guys how to do that as we go through here.
Fantastic.
But right now I'm just kind of masking it out, and I want it to be over this drink so that it looks like it's kind of been slapped on top, so that these people are having drinks, but they're actually ice creams.
Fantastic. There we go. So I'm just gonna close this image here that is already open in Photoshop. As you can tell, I was already practicing onto showing you how to proceed with your own image. So I'm just gonna close everything and start again. Actually, I'm gonna leave this open. This is the one that I was talking to you about before. So this is Studio Yorktown Popsicle, which we're gonna use for our final advert. But before we get started on this, I'm gonna show you how you can search some images in Adobe Stock and use them to create your own mockup, because Photoshop is amazing and helps you doing that.
It is.
So I'm going to go ahead into my libraries. And again, Andrew, feel free to stop me, because as I say, I'm highly dehydrated today. So I'm probably going to go on a tangent here at some point. And I'm just going to go to my libraries where it says search libraries and Adobe Stock. And I can use, what is the word? Is besides popsicle? Is ice lolly?
Yeah, I think you'd call it, yeah, like a ice lolly. Why not? Yeah.
Yeah, perfect, fantastic. So as you can see, I'm just gonna zoom in. I went to my libraries. I wrote ice lolly. I wrote it all together, probably there towards. Yeah, fantastic. And then make sure that you're not searching within your current library, but you're actually searching on Adobe stock. And as you can see, you do not even have to leave Photoshop in terms of research here. So I'm just going to go ahead and find something that is on a white background. And now to force stock to research images on a white background, do you know what is the keyword? Andrew?
No idea, actually.
It's called isolated. And I learned that from
Huh.
Jesus Ramirez. I actually was following one of his Photoshop Daily Creative Challenge. And he was teaching how to use photos for composite and why working harder and trying to mask all the background when you can source photo with a white background. So all you have to do is write whatever you want. So it can be a dog, it can be a cat, it can be a tree. In this case, it's a nice lolly. And we're gonna write the word isolated or isolate. I don't remember exactly. Isolated, I think. Yeah, here it is. And as you can see, my research, all I have are lollies on a either white or solid background. So they're isolated from the scene. And I'm gonna go ahead and choose one of those in order to start our mockup. Let's see. Ooh, there are some fruity one as well. I should have got some ice lollies today while I was working in my garden to prevent my brain melt. I think I'm gonna go with this one over here. Just gonna double click. Oops, a double click is gonna actually open in stock. What I probably do, I just click and drag to drop it here in this file. What are you doing in the meantime? Because I have not.
Yeah, so I'm kind of just texturizing some of my image to make it look like it's a little more papery. I'm adding a lot of noise, so you'll see me keep adding and adding. I like to work on each layer, kind of just build on top of those layers and add until I have something that I think looks interesting. And now I'm going to go around and try to do a little bit of that rough edge. And the way that I'll do that is I'm actually going to grab this mask over here, and I'm going to grab a brush. Yeah. I'm going to find a brush. Let's see here. Maybe special effects brushes will have one. Oh, Kyle, let's use one of Kyle's brushes because he's coming up later today. We're going to kind of mix it up though.
Yes.
So let's use Kyle's all-purpose brush, and I'm going to come in here and change the brush settings. I want the scattering to be very tight. So I'm basically making it so that it's going to be shifting this brush as I go, but it will allow for that rough edge to happen. You can kind of see a little bit as I change these that the rough edge will start to happen. There we go. Let's get the angle jitter going.
So in the meantime, I'm licensing the images because I decided to use one of the Adobe stock, and because I'm probably gonna publish it on my Instagram, I decided to license it so we can actually play with it a little bit more. We can have a little bit more high quality image. But let's see in the chat if there are any questions. Kladi, Yasnari, same. So cute with that jacket. What is cute? Am I cute? No, I guess you were saying something else. Oh yeah, my necklace is cute. Thank you so much. I think it's from somewhere in India. And hello, Rachel. Hello, Christelle. Nice to see you, everyone.
I know, it's so cool to see people just like rolling in and always hanging out with us.
Yes, Boulder here is here.
It always makes us happy to see you all in chat, kind of hanging out. There we go.
So now, Pia is asking, they do not melt? How you could eat them? Is she referring to my ice lollies?
I think so.
You lick them, and the more you lick them, the more it's like drinking with your tongue.
That's true. I didn't think that like boozy ice cream was a thing, but I actually found at Costco they have boozy otter pops, and I'm sure they're called something else, but they're like those like frozen popsicles in the sleeves. So you guys can see, I'm just going around the edge here with this brush, and we've set the jitters and all of the rotations to give us that very wonky, weird kind of torn paper edge. And then I'm just going to set this to an outer glow to give it a little bit of that dimension. We're going to set this to black. Oh, there's a color window on one of my other screens. There we go. There we go. Got it. My goodness. All right, we just want to give this a little bit of a little bit of an edge so it looks like it's kind of standing on top. Nice.
How do you do in terms of naming your layer?
I don't. 0% naming.
Boom. So yep. I'm in the middle, so I do like few steps and then I go back and name them before the mayhem happens.
Nice.
So at the moment, what I've done, in fact, I licensed the image from Adobe stock, and then I isolated just the yellow one. And the reason why I choose the yellow one is because I think it'll be a little bit easier if we want to change color. Is easier to find a hue that is already quite light, so we can implement more color. And what I've done also is to simply press Command J after create a selection, and that's why I called original. We're just about to name the very first one with all the lollies is the original, and then the crop, which is the one with the white background, is the original crop. And then all I did is went here to our fantastic object selection tool, which is a new edition of Photoshop 2020 that allows you to click and drag over an object. And I'm just going to do it again so you all can see how cool that is. And it's powered by our beautiful sensei, which is Adobe Artificial Intelligence best friend.
Feature.
The machine. And as you can see, all you have to do is to click and drag it. In this case, we have a white background. So it's like, Sensei is like, that's easy. Trust me, it does it even with like much, much more complex. But of course, we like it. Relax. We're in a chilled mood on the pool. So Catherine is asked, wish I could see more of their screen and less of them. Okay, so we really need to zoom in when we work here.
Yes, I'm zooming in, trying to go back and forth on the screens as each of us are doing things.
Fantastic.
So I'll try to make sure that we go back and forth. And yes, we are switching back and forth between Photoshop. I think we're both in Photoshop right now. I'm about to hop back over into Illustrator. We're going back and forth today, all over the place.
Yes. So I found that we do have this in common.
Yes.
So what I've done after I created the selection, I'll simply press Command J to create a copy. You could also create a mask, but in this case, I'd rather have a full version of the lolly with not background. So I'm going to call it crop, not background. And this is the stage, you know, after 3, I start naming. So here it is. And as you can see now, I do have my lolly without the background. And another thing that I'm going to do always with my object selection tool is to click and drag on the top of the lolly, where is the eyes. And our beautiful sensei is going to understand that all I want is the top. And again, a Command J to create another layer, which I'm going to call ice. And of course, we're going to do the same for the bottom, which I'm going to call wooden stick. Because we're going to put, make sure that you are on the file, on the layer where the wooden stick is present, because otherwise telling me, hey, there are no pixels there. What are you doing? And now it looks like this is actually very, very narrow in terms of being close to my actual stick. So I want to make sure that I don't lose any pixels. And therefore, before I create a copy, I'll go in Select and Modify and Expand. And I'm going to expand it of 3 pixels and click OK. And as you can see, my selection went a little bit larger just to make sure that I did embrace all the pixels that are part of the stick. Press Command J, and I can call this one wooden stick or just stick. Let's keep it simple. Ice and stick. And then when I go into my ice layer, so if I delete my other tool, we see that we have now just the crop. And I'm going to pass it to you in a second. I'm just going to change the color so then we can start to play with it. I'm going to go ahead and apply an adjustment layer, called hue saturation. And in this case, I'm just going to play with the hue. And as you can see at the moment, it's affecting the entire lolly. So what I want to do is to click on option in between the hue and saturation adjustment and the eyes in order to make sure that the adjustment only affects the layer below, which is just the eyes. And in this case, all I want to do is to bring the saturation down. So we kind of have like and also the lightness up. So we have almost like lemon lolly. Usually they're like super white, and that will allow us to create to be able to apply our fruit. Maybe we can just, because usually cocktails are not necessarily like colorful, because the majority of the drink are like transparent, so you can only see the fruit. So we're gonna start to build our brand here. And while I keep working on this, and what I'm gonna do, I'm just gonna search more fruits, and I'm gonna keep repeating the same process. So if you want to go into your screen.
Yeah, so I am now grabbing more ice cream cones, and again, the idea that I am playing around with is the idea of the people in the background are like toasting, and I want to make it so that there are ice creams, so they're toasting like ice creams that have been pasted over, and kind of this like punk rock, we might add some color, but like, zine torn Xeroxed kind of look. And I'm just making copies. So I know that because I treated these a certain way, these photos of ice cream cones that I have, I'm just pasting them in here. And what that allows me to do is if I make a copy, because I've worked on different layers, let's cut to my screen so I can show big. So because I have larger layers, there we go. Because I'm working in layers here and adjustment layers of putting the noise on top, putting the gradient map on here, it's allowed me to just make a copy of this, and I can plug in my new version of the background. So I'm just going to delete this, and then we'll relink these real quick. Oops. What did I do here? I just did something bad. Let's go here. There we go. Let's relink these. There we go. And now you'll see that I have the same treated, and I can adjust the small adjustments that I want. I don't want this to be so bright. There we go. I want to capture all of that ice creamy goodness. And I can go in and just make little manual adjustments because I've stacked up those adjustment layers in Photoshop. So super easy. I'm going to add one more to this and then kind of play around with some other treatments and maybe some type as well.
Fantastic. So in the meantime here, as you can see, I'm selecting like herbs and fruit. And also, so what I've done, I started first from a leaf, mint leaf, and a little branch, because it's more of a mojito perhaps that I'm building. Let's see. And again, this is just to show you how you can create your own mockup. I just started from a photo. You can have your own photo. And let me see, I just have to go above here. And what I'm doing, I'm trying to find my blending mode that will allow to show the color through. This color burn looks fantastic. So look at the difference. If we did not have the white layer with the saturation and the lightness, so what we did, we desaturated the image, the yellow, you can have a more deep color, because of course the orange is going to add on to our yellow. But look what happens if you perhaps go into a different color, like a purple, is still going to be muted because our yellow is sitting below. So look at the difference. If we do add our hue saturation adjustment, you can actually see exactly the color that you're selecting. And in order to have this color field, all I've done is to go into my adjustment layer, and I created a solid color, and then just by double clicking you can select whatever color you want. So in this case, perhaps I'm going to keep it a little bit more on the green turquoisey kind of color, just to have an idea of our mojitos. So a lot of green and perhaps yellow. We'll see in a second if we can bring in a little bit more of fluid, idea of fluid into our lolly. So I've started with my color, and as you can see, I'm starting to build my file. So the more I keep building, I've already created, while Andrew was working, a folder which is my ice lolly original bits, which contain my full set of lollies, the original crop with the white background, and just the crop with the transparent background, just in case everything is nice and safe there if I ever have to go back. Then I have my fruit and bits where I started to add my first minty leaf. And then at the moment, I have these middle elements which are still separated because there are the ice and the stick, but I'm probably going to build 2 separate folders for them as well. So I'm just going to have the content of whatever is going to go inside my ice, and then I have the ice folder, and then I'm going to have the stick, and then I have the original backup.
Nice.
Ooh, mint tea, yasunari. Oh my gosh, they're so good. All I want now is like a lot of eyes on my head. Yes. Should have like really wear a hat today. I don't know if you can tell from the stream. Let me know. I cannot really see myself, Andrew. I don't know if you can see it, but like I have like a really red stripe here on top of my head. I try to put a lot of makeup to try to mask it, but I think that like maybe on this area you can see a little bit. And also I have the proper gardener tan at the back, so only my shoulders are red. Yes. And the rest of my body is completely white.
Yeah. So for mine, question for the chat, should we add in colors to make these flavors? Or are we okay kind of just having the texture with stuff? Let me do an example on one, to show you kind of what it could look like. Looks like I've already made some mistakes that I need to go back and fix, but that's fine. So let's say that we want this to be like a, I don't know, strawberry, or we want this to be cotton candy, this bottom scoop here. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to grab my pen tool, and we're just going to make a really rough shape around this. And I'm not paying attention to any particular things. And I'm going to fill this. I want no stroke, but I'm going to fill with this hot pink, and I can just multiply this down. And it will kind of fill that. Do we want to do this for some of the different flavors? Do we think it's fun? Is it too much? What do we think, chat, about adding in some colors? I'm going to add in the other ones as well, just to give you an idea of what it could look like all together real quick.
I'm all about colors, so.
I know. I am not. I try to never use color and stuff. It's always black and white, and I don't know how it became my thing, but it's just kind of become the zone that I like to work in.
But that's good, because I think, you know, if you know what you like, I think that's the best place to be.
That's true.
So as you can see here, I'm saving the originals of the fruit as well. Do you do that? Do you save a lot of the original bits, or you just keep moving on and delete, and then if you lose it, you don't mind, you find something else?
I tend to keep everything just in case I need it, and that way I can go back and like make little tweaks or changes if I need to. Okay.
I'm a big like I copy a lot of stuff. Sometimes my artboard I have a layers just for stuff that is copy, original, that sort of stuff. Now I'm proceeding, and I'm just trying to fix all these elements around. I'm probably gonna have another bit of a leaf coming up on the other side. In fact, why don't just do that real quick and move it around. And in a second you'll see how I'm going to use this layer here, which is my eyes, to create a mask. So I'm just going to go into my eyes layer and select it and press Command in order to select the actual top area. And then as you can see, I've been very nice and neat and put all my fruit and herbs into a folder. So all I have to do is to click into on top of the fruit and herbs, making sure that I've got my eyes selected. And then I click into my lovely mask, and boom, here it is. All the images are contained into our mask. And there is something quite cool that also perhaps I can do before. Let me see. I'm going to do Command Z to undo. I'm actually going to transform my folder into a smart object. And then I'm going to apply a mask. So that's going to become the actual container, because as you know, smart objects are amazing in Photoshop for two different reasons, at least for me. In order to create a container where you can layer up as many other images as you want, and also in order to create adjustment that will be not destroyable.
Yep, non-destructive.
not destructive. That's the right word. Not destroyable. It's a little bit more emotional. Say destroyable.
I was talking with a friend, and they were saying like batteries are the most, or I think maybe it was a comedian. Like batteries are the most dramatic appliance because they don't just give up; they die.
Ooh, that's very funny. So we can either have it on using the luminosity, which is going to take the saturation and the hue, or we're probably just going to put it on multiply and then take the opacity down a little bit. And then I'm going to do another little trick. I'm going to double click here and select my eyes and the saturation, and I'm going to press Command J in order to duplicate them, and Command E in order to merge them. And I'm going to place them at the very, very top. And what I'm going to do here is go into filter and apply, go to the filter gallery. Actually, we can, let's go to the filter gallery, and I'm going to go into our plastic wrap. And you'll see why I'm doing that. Just real quick. So what I'm trying to do is really give the idea of the ice, and plastic wrap is a filter that gives you a lot of reflection. So perhaps I'm going to play a little bit with the detail. I think I want a lot of detail and maybe a little bit more of highlight. Look, if I bump up the highlights, I have all these like frosts. So, remember the brand is called Chills. So we really want that cool effect on it. And I'm just going to press OK. And as you can see, I have these lovely frosts sitting on top. And then all I have to do is to use screen in order to make sure that it just kind of comes up onto my eye slowly. And then I'm just going to play with the opacity.
That's super fun. So I use plastic wrap that to create my gold textures. If I'm ever doing like a gold foil, I'll make noise or clouds and then put on top of it the plastic wrap feature, and it'll totally create that.
Fantastic. So everywhere there is reflection, you can create your own.
Yep. And on my screen, I'm going through, and I was really unorganized with my layers. So I'm going through organizing my layers so that I can put these little pops of color over it. The more I do it, I wasn't sold, but the more I do it, the more I'm like, yeah, this looks rad. And so I'm playing around with adding those on top. I need one more flavor. Let's do blue. Let's do this one, cotton candy, like the whole thing, just a super fun blue cotton candy.
And
nice. Again, I'm grabbing the pen tool, and the great thing about using this style is I can be super unprecise and kind of just mess around with stuff and not have any problem with it not looking great, because there's no rules. It's supposed to look punk rock and disheveled a little bit.
So what I've done here, I'm probably going to use just the word chills. And that's something that I was reflecting on yesterday, because my brand name is made up by two words. I can have a full packaging line that is called Chills, which is the main brand, because I think that the type is the boldest side. So tipsy is almost something that is an attribute to the actual name. So Chills is the product, which is going to be the ice lolly, and then tipsy is the line that is alcoholic. And then that's why I was thinking that perhaps on the sticks we're just going to use the word chills. What do you think?
Yes.
Am I going too far with my fantasy?
Oh, I think it's fun. So I'm playing around with another idea, and again, I'm just exploring the idea for a campaign. Is I'm gonna do a bartender that is here. Let me just show you guys the image. A bartender that's like pouring a drink, but I'm gonna try to make it so that like the drink is like a sundae that's been put over it, and then the top is like sprinkles or hot fudge or something pouring over onto it. So that's going to be same style, and try to expand it a little bit.
I want to see, Andrew, if at some point someone is going to contact us to create this product.
I know, right? Yeah. If you would like to create either of these brands, let us know. We are here and available. It's just a sales pitch.
They're ready. They're ready.
I like the Duel stream because it's a little more informal. We get to hang out, kind of have fun.
Yes.
And yeah, thanks for
And
hanging
also
out,
you're
everyone.
saving my life today, because as you can tell, I usually talk so much today. I'm so glad that I'm streaming with you, because I'm like catching up. Like the stream is not on delayed, it's not an issue with the internet. It's just my brain that is like been hit by the sun. So I'm having a play here with having the brand onto the stick. Sorry, Andrew. Yasunari prefer ice.
Oh no.
I'm sure they're gonna have so many other people preferring.
Here's
Welcome
the thing.
to Short Text
Yeah.
CD. That's so cool.
For
actually.
like a lot of my style is very like abrasive, and like I know people are gonna hate it, and so whenever like it's something that the client's like, oh yeah, the client like is down for this, I'm like, cool, people are gonna hate this, and you guys need to know that. All right, cool, let's move forward. Like
Oops. Here it is.
all right, so
Sorry,
I'm doing again the same process that I was doing of cutting these out, just using the lasso tool and doing these rough edges, and I'll go back over the edges with one of Kyle T. Webster's brushes. I'll tell you which in a second, to make that little rough edge that I want. Oh, I didn't think about the idea of like a pirouette being a straw. That's kind of fun.
Mm-hmm.
All right, and I think that I'm going to end up masking out this hand a little bit, because it would be weird to have just a floating hand there. I couldn't find a good Sunday. I love the power
of composition, isn't it? You can do so much with the composite.
Oh yeah.
You can create so many crazy scenes. Are you more a Photoshop person or an Illustrator person in general?
I'm a little bit of both. I'll kind of just do whatever that I'm like, oh yeah, that totally makes sense for the project. I'll kind of bounce around quite a bit.
So really depending on the project.
Yeah.
I think I'm still more of an Illustrator kind of person. I love Photoshop, and I think that if you really get to use Photoshop, you can really get a lot out of it. But I think I just more like, it's always been my dream to be an illustrator. I think I'm still fighting for the dream of being an illustrator. It will happen at some point, hopefully. But that's how I started with my book, because because of usually with my work I cannot really do much of Illustrator work. But anyway, I think that this example looks quite nice, and the only thing that we have to do at the end is just to create a solid color from our adjustment layer, and perhaps I'm going to use my favorite color here, which is a little bit of a turquoise, and put it at the back, making sure that it's not inside any group. We can name this background. Okay, so this is how you can create your own mockup. But now let's go and see, and this is very, very quick. I don't know how much time did I actually took for it. Probably we did 15 minutes, 20 minutes. So really, really nice way to use Adobe stock images to create your very own mockup. And you can do that pretty much with everything. But let's go ahead and now explore the Popsicle by Studio York, because as a lot of many more layers, as you can see, they've created a very nice frost. And because he's in a competition here, I'm competing with Master Andrew. I am going to really, really sharpen my gears and use this Super Tool Pro Advanced mockup that is probably, they say that I had a brief chat with them before doing the stream, because I told them, hey guys, I got your mockup, I love it, I'm gonna give you a shout. And they're like, oh, we had a lot of fun doing the mockup, but I'm sure they didn't take 20 minutes to do it. So it's definitely more refined and is always an option. And what I really like about this mockup is that also contain gradients and liquid effect, which is something that you can do. Again, if we do go back to our lolly here, I just want to show you this other quick effect. So all you have to do, again, search on our amazing Adobe stock. And isn't that fantastic that we're not even leaving Photoshop when we search for images? I love that.
Here's a question. So question, which moment did you decided for you, personal or better, why did you become a graphic designer? What was the moment that you decided to maybe be a graphic designer, pursue this?
Oh boy.
I know, that's a
That's
question. It's quite the question.
that's a very, very good question. So I don't know if it was a question for me, for you, for both of us.
I
Do you
think
want
for
to go
both of
first?
us.
So I'm gonna try to be concise, which is not usually my strength. But so the reality thing is that I used to work in marketing and PR, and that were my studies. That's what I did for living, and I was working in Sydney, Australia, actually in Roselle. And at the same time, I was doing a lot of graffiti. So I was painting in the street, and then as a communicator, I started to work for the United Nations in New York. And being a graffiti artist and painting in the street with masks, I don't know if I have any photo of it. Probably, if you watch some of my graphic design stream on Adobe Live, you can perhaps find them on also on my website. There is a little tab that is called video. And if you go to graphic design, usually at the intro, let's see if I can bring it up. Andrew, if you don't mind putting your screen while I go through all my messy
Yes, and I'll talk
folders
about what
here.
I'm doing. So I am
Yeah.
again just adding in more of this torn paper texture, a little bit of that outer glow, and I'm trying to composite in the idea that like this is both like boozy, but then also is the idea of, I'm trying to make this into more of a glass. There we go. That feels better. So it's both the idea of it being a chocolate sundae, but then also being like boozy bartender. So I'm going to add in some colors here, and then I'm going to see if I can add maybe some sprinkles or something coming down onto the chocolate. So I'm going to add in some color pages like we were doing here. And again, this is mostly Photoshop, but you could do this in, I don't know, pretty much whatever you wanted. You could do this in Illustrator if you wanted, and kind of go back and forth. That's kind of what we'll be doing. I will be tossing in this brand back into Illustrator to add in some of the badges and effects on top. So we'll be jumping back and forth. We have about 45 minutes till submission revisions, deadlines. What do we call those?
Fantastic.
So yes, we'll be getting to those as well.
I actually found the little file that I was looking for. So if you want to jump back.
Yes, I will jump back.
I think I have it here. So this is the intro that I usually do when I started to do Adobe Live. I was a little bit more polite and introducing myself a little bit more properly. So of course I was in love in getting my hands dirty with colors since a very young age. And this is little Kladi here. And that's where I'm from, and I like to travel. But as you can see here, I started to, besides doing sports, I started to paint walls. So I was a graffiti artist. I don't know if I was a graffiti artist, but my name is Juicy. If you ever see a painting with the name Juicy, probably is me. And then I was working at the UN, and that's the photo that always like means a lot to me, because you can see me there working at the United Nations all dressed up by day, and then by night with a luchador mask painting in the street. A big Juicy in a most old school bubble way. So as I always said, I had to make a choice besides getting arrested or getting fired, and that was it, to change my career. So I was quite old. I went back to school, moved to Manchester, and started to study art direction and design. And while I was studying, because perhaps my marketing skills, I think I was buying a bed for my new, because I started literally in a one bedroom studio. That's where I was eating, sleeping, and working, and also studying on my project for uni. So I needed a new bed. So I made a phone call, and I was like, being the the very communicative person that I am, telling to the guy, by the way, I was trying to buy a bed from your website, and the UI is horrible, and you have a very bad logo. And he's like, oh yeah, sorry, we're just like, I just inherited the business from my dad. I'm really trying to find a graphic designer. I was like, hey, here I am. And that's how I started. That was my very first client that I got while I was still studying. And that was my journey. So again, like, I encourage you to do and follow your passion, if graphic design is your passion, no matter how many obstacles. I had a ton of obstacles, but I managed to make it through, and day by day I still have a ton of obstacles obstacles to do what I'm doing. But I think that if you follow your passion, that's always my answer. That's the drives, because, and that's not only graphic design, life is hard. To get, to go and make through what you want is not an easy journey. Usually the thing that are worth for, they're usually the hardest one, but you have to be stubborn, and you have to be passionate, and you'll get there, and patient. What do you think, Andrew?
I saw Tim Burton's Nightmare Before Christmas when I was in high school, I think. I was like the weird kid that like people made fun of because I was like just weird. And so I remember watching Nightmare Before Christmas and being like, man, this guy has like built this world where like everything is weird and wonky and like doesn't make sense. But then like it works. And so I liked the idea of like world building and storytelling. And so I started looking into that, started following designers, and eventually kind of got into a place where I'm like, oh, I can create worlds for myself that I can escape into when things are stressful, or I can, share with others when things are going great. And so it's been kind of that fun exploration for me, was figuring out how to make a world that I could ask people to step into, like pause on their world, step into mine for a second, and then hopefully go back and leave a little bit changed.
So it was mainly a way for you to communicate.
Exactly, yeah.
Fantastic. The power of design.
I know, right? I'm going to go in and start playing with some of these type treatments that I had made yesterday. I'm going to put into my Photoshop document, pasting it on top. And I think that I'm going to continue with that kind of torn paper kind of look. And again, I don't care about the rules, so we're going to put this type vertical on the side, even though it's not going to be readable. That's fine. Actually,
How much time do we have? I haven't even started with the animation. God, so behind.
We have about 35 minutes, 40 minutes.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah, so we got a little bit of time.
I'm glad that I remember right now rather than at the end of the stream.
And so I'm back into Illustrator. If you guys are seeing my screen, I'm going to start playing with placements, and then I'll take it back into Photoshop to actually place this type. But I want to make sure that it's going to work first.
Let's see. I'm still playing here with my mask. At the moment, I jumped into the Yorktown popsicle. So as you can see, I was bringing in some elements, but the color looks like it's a little bit too strong. I'm not really seeing the elements too much. So I just really want to make sure that I use a color that allows my elements to be seen a little bit more. And so perhaps I'm just going to stick back to the lovely greenish that we were using there. And I've added like a little bit more berries and lemon. And again, you don't have to do that. The reason why I'm doing that is because I'm trying to reinforce what my brand is, which is healthy, fruity, juicy, fresh, cool sort of vibe. So I'm just gonna leave it like that, and I'm gonna deselect the background, and I'm gonna actually export it as a PNG with a transparent background, because I want to create 3 different flavor. I'm gonna do a list 2. Let's put a little bit of a gradient. Why not? It's so cool. You've done such a nice job.
Ooh, those mock-ups look good.
I've got some inside I put a lime, I put some berries, and I put some herbs. I don't know what herb it is. It's definitely a legal one. And I'm probably gonna put some cucumber here.
So I'm working with, I'm using this brush by Kyle T. Webster. It is the Ultimate Pencil Hard. I've done a couple modifications on it, but I'm using it to basically make a rough paper kind of texture. Instead of using it as a pencil brush, I'm trying to do a little torn paper kind of look with that edge. And I'm going to tear off the edge here. There we go, so that we can do some cool, weird, wonky stuff.
Super cool. Here it is. I'm still placing all my fruit. Sorry, I'm just like really getting. I said that I wasn't even gonna put the gradient, but I love to add. I'm just gonna close this window. I have so many. Does it ever happen to you? Have like 2,000 window open here?
Oh yeah.
Like,
Oh yeah.
I'm not even using them.
And Paloma, we are switching back and forth today. We're doing some campaign work as well as some stuff in Illustrator. So we're back and forth between Photoshop and Illustrator today. So a little bit of back and forth.
Yes, and I'm probably gonna stay into Photoshop a little bit longer because it's about time to start my little Instagram post here. So
Ooh.
I should just save and do a video. So for those of you who like social media, I try to to learn about social media a little bit more because I do have an interest in marketing, even if I've not picked it up for a long time. And the reason why I'm doing a lot of this animation, it might be interesting for you to know, is that on social media, in particular on Instagram, the algorithm looks at how long for how long people stare in your image. So that's why you have all these Instagrammers that have these very, very long stories under their photos, or they have videos. And the reason is because the more you content you put that is entertaining, the more the algorithm thinks that your image is relevant for the audience. And that's the reason why, in this case, for our lovely product, we're going to start by creating an animated post. So we're going to go ahead and create a post for Instagram, which is going to be animated. So when we're going to publish it, people are going to spend a lot of time on it, and our brand is going to start to build their follow. We got a little bit of marketing today as well.
So I was doing some bad things. I had my layer selected, so it kept doing a lot of those. I kept clicking things, and it was like not doing the thing that I want. I'm like, why isn't it working? And I'm like, oh no, it's my fault. It usually is. So I'm just positioning this so that it is a little more focused for the ad on that ice cream. Yeah. Cool. So again, I'm just going to keep playing with this, maybe adding some texture up here, I think. Let's try that.
In the meantime, I'm just going to jump in here to show a very quick technique. So now I'm going to go ahead and create a different variation. So at the moment I have these herbs, but I want to create something perhaps with orange, with some papaya, or I don't know if there is a cocktail with papaya, but perhaps I really like the idea of using the warmth of orange next to the green. So how do we keep the one that we have and then create another one? Because if I do go and create a copy like we usually do by selecting the layer and pressing Command J, whatever I change here on this box is gonna, of course, affect our other contents, our other smart object. So I'm just going to press Command Z to undo and click on delete. And how do you create a copy of a smart object that works exactly the same way, it's got the same functionality, the same adjustments, but can contain different elements? Well, the only way of doing it is to right click into your layer, or of course press Control and create a copy. Now, let me just see real quick, new smart object via copy. I'm just going to zoom in into my screen so hopefully you can see it. So right click or Control and click in your smart object layer, and then you create a copy with new smart object via copy. If you do duplicate the layer, you won't be able to have two different contents, while if you create a new smart object via copy, you'll be able, and I'm just going to show you real quick. So at the moment, I'm just going to delete and hide all of those elements. And if we go back into our popsicle, still has all the elements of our version 1. So now I can go ahead and use this new version to perhaps put some papaya on it and
nice.
Some purple flowers. Why not? Do you ever put flowers in your cocktail? I'm the only one who does that.
I don't do that. I don't know. I could, I guess.
You don't do that.
I could, yeah. I'm looking for, I want to put some copy. And someone asked, what font am I using? I am using Gibson. Gibson is the font that I am using for that. So I'm going to, what type of computer? I'm on a PC. I believe Kladi's on a laptop, MacBook.
Yes, here it is.
Yes, I can't pick mine up. It is very large and heavy. It does light up, though. It's got all the lights. It's all glass. Ooh. You can see inside. I know, it's pretty cool.
Oh, we want a picture. Can you post a picture on your stories for us afterward?
Oh, yeah. And yeah, if you want to follow, so social media, if you want to follow me, I'm online at hoch.co, HOCHDOTCO, all words, no punctuation. And Kladi, where are you on social media?
I am Kladi. So everything is I am Kladi. If you go to my website, which is iamkladi.com, at the very bottom, you'll be able to link up with me on Behance, Instagram, Twitter, LinkedIn, and YouTube. But everywhere is I am Kladi, just like that. Nice and easy.
Cool. And I am, again, playing around with some type that I want. I am going to just mess with this type till it's weird and wonky the way that I want it. And I know that I want to put something down in this corner of my promotional image. So I'm just trying to build this out a little bit. And again, I'm going back and forth between Illustrator and Photoshop. I like to do all of my type in Illustrator, and then I will go and put that into Photoshop once it's all set in Illustrator.
Fantastic. So you still switch in between one and the other?
I do. I bounce back and forth all the time.
Do you use the libraries at all?
I do sometimes. So I use libraries when I'm working with clients, but not on my own, which I think is probably how a lot of creatives work, is like, oh yeah, my clients get that, but I don't do it for myself.
Yes, that's very true.
Yeah, I think if I'm setting it up for them to use it in the future, I will. But most of the time when I'm just working for myself, I'm like, yeah, I'll kind of get it.
I completely agree. I think that what happens when you work for yourself, you just kind of allow yourself to have a little bit more flexibility with your work, if that makes any sense. Like, but that's, you spend less time doing all the organizing, but that's when the creativity actually comes into play.
Yes.
So I'm just gonna start to close. I have so many windows open that I don't even know what I'm doing anymore. So I'm just still gonna try to change my contents here. Oh, that's the logo. Ooh, what if we have the logo on the eyes? Is that too much? I don't even know if it's gonna show. Let's see what happens. Let's see what's gonna happen. Yeah, you cannot really read it. Oh, well, we already have it on the stick. That's fine. That's gonna be fine for now. I just wanna keep them bringing back.
And so I'm over here playing, and they added in live previews for blending modes. And so a lot of times I will just scroll through and be like, oh, that looks cool. I like this one. I like that one. And literally that's how I come to a conclusion on something, is just playing around with those.
Yeah, that was so much needed, wasn't it? I'm so happy, Photoshop team, for having included the live preview.
Thank you.
I absolutely love it. Thank you so much, Photoshop gods. that was a life changer. It was so, especially, because now I have a little bit of a nicer laptop, but before I usually made an investment for my main desktop, but my laptop usually wasn't the best. So it takes time sometimes, especially with large files, to preview stuff. And right now we actually have it on the go.
Nice. And I'm going to start bringing in my type over here, my little logo thing. And I actually think that I might apply this as like a stamp. Try to make it more stampy on this. So we're going to go in and I'm going to kind of play around in Photoshop about the idea of making this a fun little stamp.
That's really cool. I'm actually like getting very lost into my project simply because I love this mock-up. It's looking so nice. So I just put like a chili, a papaya, and a violet. Let me know in the chat, do you guys ever put flowers into your drinks? Even if it's not an alcoholic drink. I love to cook. I love to create and invent a new recipe. sometimes I start by using cooking book, but then I always end up, making crazy stuff that I just made up. And what happens is I was making a cocktail for my friend, and I had, I think it was a pink gin and some rose, something like juice, water, whatever. And in my garden, there are a lot of roses and they smell fantastic. And I know that I don't put anything in my garden because they're all like very, very natural. And if I do put some food, it's very organic food or like eggshells. So I know that they are edible and safe to eat. So I went and I grabbed a lot of roses and I left them to hang out in the gin a little bit. And then I brought it back into my cocktails. So I can see Budoval, she adds flowers. Carol, her mom made a drink called Scorpion with a floating gardenia. Oh, that looks so beautiful.
So I am playing around with the idea of like multiplying this stamp over something. I like it over the text here. And so I'm going to just keep playing around with this kind of being a stamp on here for the logo. It might get too busy, but at this point, I don't know if there is a too busy.
It's never too busy.
Yeah, I think that I'm past the idea of something being too busy.
So there was a question from Jotirmia. I hope that I say that right. Let me see. I have to switch mouse to go back to the question. Is better to decide upon the brand colors at the beginning and incorporate those through the design? I will say absolutely, but meaning you never should be too precious about the color. Always starting in black and white and making sure that your brand works in black and white is a must, because there could be a day which, your client is simply printing a document in black and white and it must be able to work. So you don't necessarily have to be related to a color. But before you develop, for example, your campaign, at that stage, you would have to make some choice, because otherwise it becomes harder to then having to recolor everything. And if you don't keep it on recoloring every time, it's just simply not going to look on brand.
Yep.
So I don't know, what do you think?
I totally agree. And I think, yeah, keeping it on brand. I go back and forth because I like to work in black and white so much. I usually am in black and white for the majority of the time, unless I know that color will be a huge factor. And so if it's going to be a huge factor, then I definitely will incorporate it right away. If I don't think it's going to be a huge factor, then I won't till the end. So it really bounces back and forth here and there.
Yes.
So I'm trying to play around with, the idea of like the cone pattern being something that's incorporated. It's making it super busy, but I kind of like it, so I'm not mad.
I finally jumped and decided to start my animation.
Nice.
Because otherwise it's going to be the end of the stream. I'm going to be like, oh, I promised animation since yesterday and I haven't done anything. So at the moment it's still looking to me like too much like a simple, like a fruity. So I got the fruity, I got the freshness, I got the coolness, but I still think that the cocktail is missing. So probably what I'm going to add is one of them little umbrella. I don't know if you know what I'm talking about. I think I used
totally.
one from my mock-up yesterday.
What do you think about this, chat? The waffle cone being over the type as like a textural element over here. Were you into it? Let me know.
Here's my umbrella. Yeah, and same here. I would love to know if you think that I need more elements. I think the umbrella should do. Give the idea of the cocktail. Let us know. Let us know in the chat. I think that should just give a little bit of the edge here of the idea that I'm using the umbrella. And as you can see, I'm using still the quick selection tool, the object selection tool to quickly select the object. But also if I press the letter Q and then I use my brush, that's the other quick selection that allows me to select pixel. Of course, remember, as everything that you do in Photoshop, white reveals, black conceals. So I'm just gonna go ahead and create, make sure that I lift all these little details here. And again, like might not gonna be too precise. I will probably do this kind of work of selection with a pen. Do you use a pen, Andrew?
No.
Never ever?
Never ever. I'm always, so I prefer to work I prefer to work on a trackpad, actually.
Yeah.
And
Same
I
here.
don't even like, I don't like working with a mouse even. I like working like solely on a trackpad. And so yeah, even being on my PC right now, like it feels weird to have my hand not right in front of the keyboard on the little trackpad. I like being able to like feel like what I'm working with.
Have you ever experienced a tablet? Have you ever tried?
No.
No.
Not
Well,
really.
I tried my first tablet and I was struggling so much and I kind of like gave up on it. But then I decided to give it a go, and it took me about like 3 weeks. But then Andrew, I think you're gonna love it because I'm a trackpad person. The reason why I'm using the mouse is because I'm doing an experiment right now. I actually ordered it about a few weeks ago. I was having a conversation with Asus, and he told me you should try and use the mouse. So, and that's Asus voice, by the way. And that's why I'm trying, but I still think that trackpad and pen. I think, Andrew, that if you're a trackpad person and what you need is the feeling, I would definitely say you should give it a go to the pen because it can be extremely, extremely amazing.
I need to give it a shot.
Yes. Here we go. So I'm here with my little umbrella. We asked question to the chat, and then I don't know if we have checked the answers.
Oh yeah, do you guys somebody didn't like the waffle cone, and so I took it out. That was a good idea.
Okay.
I like it on the first one, but not the second one. I kind of agree. It's too much, it feels like. I think it's too much. So I took it out.
What about the umbrella, guys? Let me know.
Oh yeah, let her
What do
know
you
about
think?
the umbrella.
So at the moment, all I'm doing is I'm going to try to select just this little side of the umbrella that sits inside because I want to make it, you know, I'm going to just mask it. And another beauty of the mask is that you don't necessarily have to use it in black or white. You can also use it in gray. So let's see what happens here. I'm still masking. And if you press shift on the mask, you can see the original photo and then the masked umbrella. And then if I use the brush in the mask, if I go and use black, of course, reveals the mask. But if I do use a gray shade or like a darker color that is not necessarily black. So for example, I'm going to put my cyan to 0, magenta to 0, yellow to 0, and I'm going to have a 50% K, which is a gray. Look what happens here. Once I'm going to make my brush a little bit bigger. So it's not fully hiding. It's just showing partially the actual pixels. So it's not fully hiding. Can you see? It just gives me almost a look of transparency. That's probably the best way of saying it here. What I'm going to do first is I'm going to apply this first mask so I can keep working with another one. So let's make sure that, oops, we apply the mask and mask options. Here we are. So then what I wanted to do is to create a further mask in order to use it just on my little umbrella selection here. I'm just gonna make a copy and merge it.
Oh, there we go. And I'm just filling in the background of this to make sure that I have the right amount of like paper around here. I'm also going to erase a little bit of this.
Fantastic. So I decided to make the umbrella as marked object so I can start to perhaps add some layer and also, so let's see, Vuduval said that she would love to see the ice lolly and umbrella sitting in an empty cocktail glass. That's a good idea.
That's fun.
Let's see if we can build up to that. So at the moment, I'm still trying to work. Yeah, we finally managed it. So what I did, I created as marked objects so I can start to work on the umbrella. And as you can see, by using the gray, I created some transparency. So I'm only showing a few pixels here into my little stick of the umbrella, so it looks like the umbrella is going through. And if you do want to hide more pixels, of course, make sure that you create a a darker version of the gray. So for example, if I use 80, as you can see, it's going to hide it a little bit more, because everything that is closer to dark, to a full 100% black, is going to be hiding the pixel. Everything that is closer to white is going to be revealing the pixels. And I can see that there is Jesus in the chat.
Hey, what's up?
Thank you for joining us, Jesus.
It's a
He was
party.
just streaming with Sean, I think. He was just streaming just a little bit a while ago.
It's a streamer party.
Yes.
Speaking of, after us is our friend Kyle Webster. No, after us, I lied. Oh my goodness. After us is like probably literally my best friend, Peter Del Tondo, who I forgot existed for just a second there. I'm sorry, Peter. And so he'll be hanging out doing the XD daily challenges. So stick around for that. We'll be doing a giveaway at the beginning of his stream. I'll be giving you guys some free fonts because I know that you love free fonts. So I'll be giving away some free fonts. So make sure you stick around for that stream with Peter. I will give you a secret emoji and you will pop that in at the beginning of the stream with Peter.
Fantastic. I'm going to be chasing you for the actual typeface because I'm a big fan and I will love to see it. So what I decided is to go with a different idea because, sorry Voodoo Val and chat, but my main inspiration still is the chubby cat hanging out on the pool. So I'm thinking that maybe because I already have the cocktail, I want to bring a different element. So I got the cool, I got the ice, I've got the fruity, healthy, I got the umbrella cocktail. Now what I need is the environment. So I'm going to place my ice lolly with the umbrella floating on that pool. So I'm just going to try to create like a different layers of here in the background of background.
Oh, Amy Hood is in the house. Hood's from Chutzpah Design. Yesterday, now that Amy's here, somebody had a question about how to handle pricing and getting past the money questions with your clients. We gave you our perspective, and then I told you to go look at Freelance and Business and Stuff. So I want to plug that again. Freelance and Business and Stuff. It's a book by Chutzpah Design. Super helpful in my personal freelance career to figure out pricing and structures and setting up LLCs and all that stuff. So yes, go check that out.
And it's by Amy? Sorry.
It is by Amy and Jen. They are sisters, and they run a studio called Chutzpah together.
Oh yeah, fantastic!
They are twins.
I've seen their stream. I remember her last name, and also my dad is in the house.
What's up?
Ciao, Papa. I love that.
For those catching up, Amy, who has just joined us, and other friends, we are doing a side-by-side, and we are creating a brand for a boozy ice cream. We have two different approaches to it. Claudia is going very healthy and summery. I'm going very frat party and let's get wasted. And so I'm working on stuff like this. I hate the overlay now that I saw it again. Working on stuff like this that is compositing and collaging together people doing bar things, but putting ice cream on top of them. The little shaker with a sundae with the spoon dripping down. I'm going to do one more that's going to be a solo cup that is filled with ice cream. Will be the last one. We have about 15 minutes left before we do reviews. So yeah, that's what we've been working on. We'll show you guys the finals of all the things that we've done here at the end in about, I don't know, half hour or so. And Amy... Claudia, Amy has been watching your live streams and loves them, by the way.
Thank you, Amy. Lovely to meet you. Hopefully we're going to meet each other in person at some point. Where are they based?
They are here in Southern California, not too far from me.
Oh, fantastic.
So yeah, come on down.
So I come and hang out very often. I'm actually hopefully in the process to... Maybe I shouldn't say anything, but we'll see.
Ooh,
I'll come. Well, secrets. We'll see. But I'm on that side of the world very often, hopefully more often than not. And I would love to meet you. I've seen you and your sister streaming, and it was fantastic. It was so much fun. Thank you so much for joining on my streams as well.
So I'm gonna go super Andy Warhol here with my last one, and I'm gonna do 3 red solo cups, and I'm going to make those red solo cups into like the Campbell soup can, kind of like pop art, but then put ice cream scoops in them. Also, I saw something that I thought was the funniest thing ever. Is somebody did like a color treatment of Pop-Tarts, and they like cropped it, and they're like, it's pop art of the top part of a Pop-Tart, and I was like, that's the greatest thing I've ever heard in my life.
Oh gosh, that's so funny. So what I'm doing here, I'm creating my pool. So I just kind of use a shape, and then I use the mask in order to create the shape. And I've done the same trick that I've done before in terms of selecting the pixel and then expanding them. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to apply some texture, just again to keep the kind of organic sort of feel. I decided to use a texture that is kind of like crafty paper, and by clicking option and adding it to the group, and then use multiply. Let's see if that happens. Let's see if that is going to happen here. Why do I have the pool? Okay, so I need to put the pool into a mask as well.
It's funny, you'll see us in chat getting into these last like 10-15 minutes. We get our like game faces on.
Yes, you're like
it happens every
serious
stream.
right
Yeah,
now.
every stream. It's like, oh my goodness, it's the final countdown. Need
Yes,
some like
yes.
intense music.
I can't believe it. I can't not believe it.
And these literally were red, but I wanted them to be my red, so I toned them into grayscale. I love that. That's such a designer thing. Like, they were red, but I wanted it to be my red.
My red.
Yes.
That's very funny. Okay, so I applied this texture. It looks a little bit dark. I don't know if I'm happy with it, but then probably what I will do is to add some drop shadow to the steps, just to make sure that it doesn't look flat. And I left some space here so I can add some lemon, and hopefully in the last 5 seconds I'm gonna squeeze the animation.
I know, right?
I always do that. I'm so bad. What do you guys think in the chat? Let me know if this is kind of looking like a summery kind of pool.
Yes, let us know. Also, I had this idea too when I had the idea for like it being boozy, like party ice cream, was to have them serve everything in solo cups. I just think it's like the funnest little idea.
That's super cute. Okay, so at the moment, like I'm just gonna copy the drop shadow, because again I want to be able to focus on the animation a little bit. So all I did is click on the effect that is under my first layer of like pool shape, and then click and drag by clicking option in order to apply the same effect to my other layer mask. And now I'm ready to import my little slices of lemon so we can make him dance.
Dancing lemons.
Yes. By the way, I don't know if you ever seen the post that I've done on my what is it called, Instagram lately. But before recording my stream, I was actually started to record it myself, and I was just like dancing until I realized that it was already recording.
Yes.
That was so much fun. You guys have the full reality of behind the scene here.
We get all kinds of crazy.
Yes.
And interesting to see Andy Warhol theme is going to be like, yeah, like a little Basquiat too. Yeah, sure, why not? That's the thing. There's very often it's like there's no rules. I'm just gonna go for whatever and do whatever, and hopefully it looks good.
So again, just taking real quick for those of you who join us today. Yesterday, I started with my mood board, and the reason why I'm thinking about doing, so first of all, the lolly on top of the pool, which probably at the end, I'm gonna go through camera raw and make sure that the light looks together, because at the moment the pool is looking quite much darker than the lolly, is taken as an inspiration from our lovely cat that it was floating on the pool. But the other thing that I'm going to do, so this is the inspiration of having the lonely on the water. The other inspiration for the motion was when we created our beautiful PDF, and one of the pages contained these lemon. And as we see yesterday, by exporting it as interactive PDF, we can actually see that what we downloaded was in reality a little GIF, and we can see that they move left and right. So we want to make sure that we allow the 3D effect to happen here. And here it is. So as you can see, they move left or right, and I'm gonna take this inspiration also, bring it into our lovely advert here. So at the moment, I'm simply duplicating and creating our little lemons that we're gonna move. And I'm gonna show you a little trick on how to use how to create this effect of motion, because probably I'm just going to use two. Let's see if we can fit three. The reason why I really wanted to show you this, I show animation and the use of timeline before, but this was a little bit tricky, and I really had to reflect on how to make it happen myself. So I thought that it would be nice to share with you as well. And the reason is because when you create motion on the timeline, usually objects move on a straight line. So in this case, I want them to like reflect around, you know, pretty much have sort of like a flipping image. And as we did see, that can be a little bit harder to do. But the reason is that all we have to do is to really think how to solve the problem. So in this case, what I'm going to do is to create two different effects for my lemon. One who has the lemon from the side that I like, and then so this is the first one, and I'm going to merge it. So first of all, as usual, I'm going to create a folder and call it lemon original. So those are my original lemon, and then I'm going to create a copy by press Command J and press Command E to merge it. And this is going to be our lemon version 1, which is going to be our first position of the lemon. And then I'm going to toggle the visibility in order to go back and create a copy of our folder where the lemon are still separated. And all I'm going to do is to flip them around so we can see our second positioning of the lemon, and we're going to see how to deal with that in the timeline in a second. Here it is. So once I am done with the second movement, I'm going to press Command E to merge, and I'm going to call this lemon version 2, so V2. Now, when you work with the timeline, you really want to use your layer, name your layer, because otherwise it can become confusing. So I'm just going to go ahead and click on Window and Timeline in order to bring the timeline, and click on Create Video Timeline in order to start our little animation. And I'm just gonna go back and make sure that see, Andrew, I still jump on my trackpad even if I do have a mouse.
Yep.
So all I'm gonna have to do is to make sure that I trigger the visibility of the object one at a time. So I'm gonna start with my first lemon version 1 in our times 0, the opacity. I'm going to click on the opacity time stop and bring the opacity to 0. So all we can see is the other side. And then I'm going to move to perhaps 10 seconds here, and I'm going to click it again in order to make sure that it's still up to 0, but then in a very, very quick time. So that's why we use this little slider at the bottom to make the time stretch. So we can go ahead and really make it one little keyframe next to the other keyframe, so it happens very fast. We bring the opacity up to 100, and the reason why I do that is because I want to make sure that the transition happen fast. So even if the transition goes from 0 to 100, it happens in such a short time that we can trick the eyes to make it look like it's literally appearing. And then I'm going to do, of course, the opposite with the other one. So all I'm doing is working with transition between making one side appear and the other one disappear. One side appear and the other one disappear. So hopefully we're going to have time to do that. What do you think?
Yeah, let's give it a shot. I think it's interesting. Photoshop is so helpful for animation, which like I would never think would be a thing, but it totally is. Like animating in Photoshop is one of the best things. I absolutely love it.
Yes, something that I want to make sure to remember here is that you want to make sure that you use, of course, the same time for when the animation are happening. So for example, now we have the same time they are at one state and then they flip at the same time, because otherwise if we give it a delay or if we do it too soon, we're going to have them. Actually, let me show you. So if we don't use the same exactly time, we are going to have an overlap. So the second state is going to happen before the other one goes away. And if we do it too far in time, we're still going to have like an empty pool with none of the two appearing. So we want to make sure that we do that at the same time. And
we're getting pretty close to challenge revisions. We got about 2 minutes. So get your challenge submissions in. We're going to come back and show you all this stuff again at the end as well. But we are going to scramble until then to get it done.
How much do we have until the
challenge submissions?
Review? Yeah.
1 minute.
Ooh. Okay.
I know, right?
So the only thing that I want to, let's see if I want to say something real quick. You can copy the frame. All you have to do is to click and drag in order to select them, and right click or control click and click on copy. And then when you go on move your little holder here and press it to the same time where the other object is changing of state, you go ahead and click on the diamond to create a new state, and then again right click and click on paste, and will allow you to create different paste. Let's see if this is happening. It's happening. So you need to make the sound effect also. That's a must. Okay, I think should we get ready to
I think so.
Revision?
I'm gonna do one last thing here.
Yep.
And then I think that we will be good to go. Let's see, what do I want to do? I don't know. I'll leave that for now, and then we'll kind of figure. Actually, hold on. Nope, we're gonna keep going. Hold on. We got 1 minute. Sorry, Voodoo Val. We got 1 minute. I promise we're gonna get to them. I'm going to mask these out real quick. I know, we're bad. We are very bad. Go ahead. Layer via cut. All right, turn that off. And then I'm going to cut this one. Go layer via cut and bring it up. There. All right, that didn't work, so it was a waste of time. All right, cool. So let's go ahead and hop into your challenge submissions, which will be fun. So if you guys want to, you can hop over into Discord. bit.ly/AI Discord is where you can drop those if you have not already. The challenge today was to make a poster using 3D elements. So we'll be looking at some posters using those 3D elements. And it's going to be a grand old time. I'm going to keep talking in this cadence because I'm putting a logo on one more cup and trying to keep you entertained like we're doing something else. All right.
I'm still working as well.
Yeah, see how that works, everybody? That's how the behind the scenes works. Cool. So I'm going to actually hop over into Discord now.
Yes.
Push the button. Here we go. All right, so we're over in Discord hanging out. We're going to look at these for about 10-15 minutes, and then Kladi and I are going to give a full look at all the things that we have. Kladi, if you want to keep working, that's totally fine.
That's fine. I want to give some feedback as well.
Sweet.
And they look fantastic, by the way.
They do. So I think, let's see. We were working today. There are some of day 3, some of day 4. So we're looking at 3D shapes as well as, I believe yesterday they did. Let me check.
So what I've seen before, sorry to interrupt, is that they're going to create a full series of posters throughout the challenge. So we're going to have posters, cool posters.
Cool. So it's gradients and 3D shapes. So let's start at the bottom here with Dominica. I believe we looked at hers yesterday as well.
Yes. Oh yeah, that's true. Dominica made it right on time. Just paint. Well, you know me. I like juicy drops of colors, bold colors. So I'm sold. I'm sold on this one. And very well done in keeping the background a neutral color. You really allow to have that contrast, so it's not too busy. We have a little bit of a shadow. Do you want to say something on the shadow, Andrew?
Yeah, I almost want the shadow to be more blurry or almost be like extended. Like it feels like a little too squishy. Like I would have it like extended a little bit. But other than that, I like it. I don't think you need the extra edge, like the dark edge on the word paint. And if you're going to do that on the word just as well. So yeah, other than that, I love it. Love the colors, love all the stuff.
Fantastic. I completely agree with the edge on the paint, and same with the shadow. The shape is way too big. All you have to do is perhaps, use your own hand and look at the table. But if you put a light on top, you'll see that the shadow is actually way bigger, because it not only takes the point, but it takes the entire element that is on top. So always try to look at reality. And again, it can be a pen, it can be just like a bottle. But otherwise, absolutely love it. Well done, Dominica. Beautiful colors.
I agree. Let's hop up to Ant.
Woohoo! So we're definitely dancing. Are all those dance moves?
Scientific dancing data.
Okay, so I wouldn't read scientific unless Andrew would have said it.
There we go.
I don't know if that's because of my brain is sunburned or just probably because we have to improve on to legibility. And my advice would be, I usually play a lot with contrast. So see how you have the beautiful thin line and the nice thick dancing typeface. Probably I will use something a little bit more thin in order to create, again, hierarchy between the two different typefaces. What do you think?
Yeah, I agree. I think there's too much going on with the data charts in the background. I'm trying to pick out your element. So the data charts in the background looks like you have a crystallized shape in the background using as a texture. You have the blends of the different shapes. There's a mesh in there. You have some blending modes. So I would just parse it down to a few elements. I think the type could be more sleek. You could be using one font on the whole dancing scientific data. I do like the blends with the data. To me, that says dancing data, like the way that it's like moving around. I don't think you need the pie chart or the bar chart. I think that's too much as well. So I would just parse it down to less elements, and I think that would be really helpful.
Yeah, I agree. I think that if you get rid of the bars and just change the scientific to something a little bit more simplified, maybe just like, very, very simple font with sans serif, like literally thin line. I think you're done, because the colors are beautiful. The color palette is fantastic. I love the lines in contrast with the thick typeface. So you're one step to nailing it.
Sweet. All right, let's keep moving on. Let's go up to fun. Vince.
Super fantastic. So it looks like we have framed our posters with the same color palette of the posters. Would it be amazing that you can create your own frame that has the same grading of your artwork? That's really cool.
That's really cool.
Really nice. So I love the way that you really stress there the color palette, and I love the shapes. I'm not too sure about the word strongs. I think maybe if you just like have a very I'm a little bit on the minimal side, so perhaps Andrew, you probably have a different opinion, but I would definitely see the word strong centered under the circle and a bit smaller. So just like your eyes goes into the middle of the artwork, because the rest is beautiful.
Yeah, I agree. It's very geometric, but then that kind of throws me off at like the weird angle, especially with the reflection. To me, it's like, okay, then where is the ground? Like, is the ground at like a weird like side thing, and then is that ball just floating above it? So I'd make everything so that it feels like there is some perspective kind of going there. We want it to look like that strong is reflecting on the table. I agree, the type could be taller. It could be thicker. I don't necessarily like the stencil. It could be serving the purpose of this, but I'm not sure to that. So it could be the right choice, but I'm not quite sure on that. But yeah, I like it.
So in the meantime, I was reading in the chat, and Pia said, don't forget to say, I guess that she follows my stream. And so I just jumped, real quick to Photoshop because I wasn't saving my animation. So
oh yeah, I have nothing
thank
saved
you so
at
much.
all. There is none of the things on my computer saved.
Sorry for this digression. Let's go back to
moving up to
next.
Sandy. Our friend Sandy, you were here yesterday. We looked at yours yesterday as well. Thanks for doing the daily creative challenges. I've seen you do some of mine as well, and so I think some of Kladi's. Yeah.
Well done for submitting your work and for being committed into producing artwork all the time.
Extra credit.
Yes, extra credit. Plus. So break free. I like the fact that you go over the border. Yes. I love when rules are broken like that. I'm not too sure about the typeface. I would probably just like leave the geometry explode, because everything is so rounded and fluid and is exploding, and then the typeface is very like strokey and with like squared corners. So it's like, am I breaking free, or it looks like almost like constrained? So I don't know. What do you think?
It's true. I would put the break free outside the border. I would float it up above the top and the bottom and just put break on top and free on the bottom. Really small, so that it has like a little more room to breathe. It feels like we have broken free. I like your colors a lot. The colors are like crazy,
Yes.
but like kind of fun.
I think that like if we just somewhere tuck in the break free away, it just looks a fantastic piece of art. It's
I agree.
very, you get the energy goes from cool to warm, and it's like really the artwork is breaking free. So in this case, you managed to communicate the word with the picture. So you probably don't even need the words.
This is super technical. So there is a like postmodernist movement in Sweden that happened in like the late 2000s, 2010s. That was like kind of this vibe. It was a lot of like crazy big shapes, bright colors, and I don't remember what it's called. But this reminds me of that it could be like this total insanity. I think is really fun and interesting. Yeah, it's like Swedish postmodernist something, but there's a name for it. But if you want to look it up and see if you can find it, it's this kind of style and totally crazy.
I'm very curious now.
Yes, I'm trying to look at my design history book. It's not on my bookshelf, so I can't look it up right now. Sorry.
Sorry, everyone.
Sorry. All right, let's do one or two more. Let's keep going up.
Ooh, yes, this next one, please.
Fun. Let's do Shannon. She's doing the challenge from yesterday, but I think it's fun. Speaking of design movements.
Yes, we got this beautiful mid-century modern. I love it. I absolutely love it. I'm not a big fan of serif typeface, especially used as a display, but I think you nailed it. The only thing that I will remove is the gradient on top and the bottom, because it doesn't make much sense with the solid shapes of the mid-century. They weren't too much into funky gradients. So probably make a black line, or green, orange, blue, whatever you want. They already use in your design, and that's it. Otherwise, I love the composition.
Yep. So I love this. So technical, I'm just spouting knowledge at you guys now. The technical name for this kind of typeface, which I think is hilarious, is a fat face. It is a fat face typeface, which I think is hilarious. And it's the super thin vertical and then the very thick horizontal and diagonal. It's called a fat face typeface. Which is crazy.
Even a Bodoni is a fat face?
Yeah, Bodoni would be considered a fat face, yeah.
Fantastic.
So this is fun. I think it captures the mid-century modern a lot. I think that some of your layering of the shapes I don't need, like the opacity happening on the blue and orange. I would rather just have it like wrap around those. So have like the right side of the blue over that orange, and then have the left side just under, so it looks like there's some interaction with those going together. But yeah, other than that, I love this one. This is great.
So it just need to be cleaned up. What would you do with the gradient? Would you still leave the gradient?
I don't think it needs it. No, I don't think that gradients were a big thing of mid-century modern. There's a lot of flat planes of solid colors. So I could get rid of the gradients, and you'd be fine, yeah.
Andrew, sorry, but in front of me I have another screen which also streams me and you, and I can see kind of like a little bit of a replay. And I was looking that probably you are the only person that I stream and speak with that use as many handle language as I do. Are you sure they are not like Italian somewhere?
I know. I might be. I took the
DNA
test or whatever, and I'm supposedly North African, so mostly Moroccan.
Oh wow!
Right, which is crazy. I'm adopted, and so I didn't know, and so we looked it up, and I was like, "Ooh, Morocco." All right, let's do one more, and then we'll show off our projects to you. Oh, we have to do it. Oh, actually, let's scroll down to the bottom because people looks like they have been posting. Look at this. Okay, let's do this one. This is great. Let's look at Ant's. Ant has updated his in the time that we gave the feedback. So let's let's look at it. Give some thoughts on the feedback.
So much better without the bars.
It is so much better.
You looked at scientific typeface. I'm still not a fan of that, but that would be the only thing that I would change. Otherwise, I love it.
Yep, and I think the only thing that I would change is maybe making that scientific the same kind of pink color. I don't mind the typeface being two different ones. You could do something more modern, but I think the dancing and data is fun now that you don't have as much going on.
Yes.
And so I think, yeah, this is a step in the right direction. You did some good stuff. Yay!
And
I
you've
love
done a
seeing live
great
feedback.
way. You've done a great background. So it was a shame that was eaten before. So
Yes.
well done. It looks fantastic, and well done for implementing the feedback right away.
Yep, and I believe that's the crystallize feature that you're using in the background to create that texture.
Ooh,
it's
sexy.
Gorgeous. All right, Kladi, I think that's it for daily challenge reviews.
That's it.
Real quick, I'm going to hop to the schedule. Coming up next is our friend Peter Del Tondo. Make sure you stick around for that. I will be giving you a secret emoji at the end of this, and I will give you that secret emoji. You will post it, and then I'll be picking a winner to win a free font from my shop for you to use in whatever you want. So stick around for Peter. He's coming up next, and then we have Kyle T. Webster. We've been using his brushes on our stream. Thanks, Kyle. We think you're great. I want to be your friend. And then we have Voodoo Val and I back at 3 o'clock. I will be dressed up as Chun-Li. You can see right next to me. I have my little hair puffs just to prove that I do have the Chun-Li costume.
I do clip them on.
I clipped them on, so we will have those. I also have my my little arm things. So
amazing.
We'll be back at 3 o'clock dressed as Street Fighter characters. But for now, thank you for joining us for this stream. We're going to go in and we're going to show you what we've done over the last 2 days. And chat, you guys can pick, I don't know if it's a winner or pick your favorites. I don't know.
Do we have like 2 more minutes to finish off?
Oh, yeah. We have 2 more minutes here. How about this? I'll start and I'll go through my stuff and then we'll transition to you when you're ready.
Okay, perfect.
All right, I'm going to flip over to my screen. That's your screen. I'm going to flip over to my screen. There we go. Hello. My name's Andrew Hochradel. I'm going to show you what we've been working on. We've been working on a brand for a boozy ice cream. And my idea was to create a boozy ice cream that was to the college crowd that likes to party. The name of my boozy ice cream brand is Sauced, so we can play with chocolate sauce as well as getting sauced. A lot of the taglines that we worked with were pretty pleased with an olive on top, playing around with that duality, getting salt sprinkled around the rim, doing shake it, make it a double, that it's a double scoop. So we played around with this, had some bold typefaces, and then worked with this logo, which was a nice little waffle cone that was also a cocktail. A waffle cone with a ice cubes with the olives kind of hanging out. And started to play around with this branding, put it in a little badge. And from there, we moved over into Photoshop to show some applications of this brand all together. So we wanted this to be a social replacement for social drinking, right? People were like, oh, I just drink socially. That's great. What if you have some ice cream socially? And so it was the idea of people toasting, but they're all ice cream cones instead, a little punk rock, little fun. Very like bold, bright, punchy headlines, like the idea of lick, lick, booze, which I think is fun. And then
I think you're the only person that can get away by saying that.
I know, right? Like there were all kinds of things. I'm like, yeah, still not saved. All of these are untitled or just the image. Yes, we're living dangerously. Working over here, saying, and again, just trying to incorporate that idea of make it a double. Amy loves it. It makes me so happy. They were like 2 of the designers I just looked up to when I was like in design school. I'm like, they're amazing. And we got to work on something last year, and every time that we do something and then they're like, I love it. I'm like, yes, sorry, I got carried away. So, make it a double as if a bartender is pouring you an extra strong drink, except this time we want a double scoop with all of that chocolate fudge poured on top. So we're playing around again with that kind of compositing and collage, putting things in there. And my personal favorite, the last one, was a mock-up for, if this is a brand, if someone would like to start this brand, please hit me up. I'd love to make a sauced actual brand for you. Is doing the names of some of the flavors, as well as a tagline of have a meltdown, that, right, like you drink too much and you just have like a total meltdown, but also like ice cream melts. And then showing packaging maybe that it is just like cheap screen printed on red Solo cups. And then naming and making custom flavors like buzzed butterscotch, sloshed cherry, and toasted coconut. Toasted coconut's my favorite because you're like, oh, it's just toasted coconut. And you're like, no. That coconut's
No.
toasted, which I absolutely love. So this was my idea for Sauced, and in here we used my font, one of my fonts that you can win right after this with our friend Peter Del Tondo, and it's this font called Templeton. And so Templeton is made, let's say hello. Templeton has been made and constructed by yours truly to be a little weird and a little wonky. It's got these rough edges, and what happens is so my number one pet peeve is, and yes, it's a pun on making a toast. It is totally. So the thing with Templeton is my pet peeve is when a textured font has the exact same character next to each other in double letters. So I've made it so that the uppercase and the lowercase are different. So if you're typing a name that has a bunch of, let's say my last name, Hochradel, right? We have the H's are the same. I just go ahead and make one of these lowercase, and when I make this a lowercase h, it will change and be a little bit different. So you can play around with that, kind of go back and forth. And this is what I'll be giving away in my giveaway with our friend Peter Del Tondo coming up next. Our secret emoji, and don't do it until he goes live. I know I see a lot of you guys posting him before. When he goes live, I want you to drop into chat the ghost emoji. I believe there's a ghost emoji. Let me double check that to make sure. We are going to ghost Peter because he forgot to text me back, so we're just going to let him know. Yes, there is a ghost emoji. We're going to drop that ghost emoji. I'll be giving away a free copy of Templeton. And if you want to check it out as well as others, you can go to Hoch.shop is where I have all of my things, and check that out. Or if you'd like a different typeface, you can go there and check. If you're a winner, you can pick any of my typefaces and you can have them right there. Super fun. All right,
fantastic.
Kladi.
I'm so glad that you took the time to explain your thing, because in the meantime, I'm trying to do something cool.
Yes.
Hopefully I'll be able to do it.
Please keep it
here.
going. And so we didn't get to it, but
yes.
in my brand, I was working with, and we ended up doing, this just shows the process, is we ended up playing with the idea of a martini glass being a waffle cone, and then that idea ended coming back in some of our process right here. There we go. So this is the exact same idea of this logo that we were working with. And that just shows that a lot of times in branding, it's about the idea and not necessarily the application. If you can have a good idea with an okay application, it still ends up being a really great idea. And so some of these, oh man, we didn't put this on anything, but this was my favorite tagline that I wouldn't stop laughing about, is it's body shots for waffle cones. I just think that it's the greatest idea. And if I had more time, I'd probably develop like
Which one did you use? Did you use the double one?
Yeah, we used make it a double. We used, let's see, lick lick booze, and then we used have a meltdown. And so if I did keep going, I'd probably make like little shot glasses that were waffle cones, and that's where I would use that one. That it's body shots for waffle cones, because I think that's really fun. Or it would be something of, oh no, I'm probably gonna get in trouble for this. We'll see. I would do like a super like provocative ad that would be like a waffle cone, but it's like melting, and someone's like licking like the waffle cone to like get like the meltiness or whatever, and then the tagline would be it's body shots for waffle cones. That would be a really, that's like the Carl's Jr., the old Carl's Jr. version of it. That it looks like somebody's doing a body shot, but it's actually them licking a waffle cone. That's so fun. Here's the thing. I think this idea is so fun that I want to just like keep going with it and like just do it again.
So I'm just gonna like probably have 1 minute to go over mine. Thank you so much, Andrew, for allowing me time to finish the animation. Because what I was actually trying to introduce, well, let me recap. So we'll get to the animation in a second. So my process was starting from mood board here and identify the actual theme. And I'm gonna bring my sunglasses so I'm on brand. The actual theme of the beautiful, cool, warm, vibrating, nice, fun experience with the music, friends laughing, and the ocean splashing while you enjoy your fresh boozy ice cream. And the reason why I came out with the name brand, which was Tipsy Chills, is because I really wanted to give the idea of the warmth of the sun and the cold. And when you get these two temperature clash together, that's when you get chills. So that's why our product and our brand is going to be called Chills, but of course it's boozy, so Tipsy Chills. And from our mood board, we selected some color palette directly in Photoshop using using Capture and put it in our library here. As you can see, there are Capture color theme, and then we jumped in Illustrator with the mood board logo development that you can find on my website, which is I am Kladi.com/resources, where you can actually download this mood board and logo development here. I usually use InDesign for mood board, but when I have logo development, I want to make sure that I bring my inspiration right through in my InDesign. And after a few trials, I kind of got stuck with this combo of typeface, again reinforcing the contrast between a tipsy, volatile, fresh, fun, quick typeface, which is a script, and then a chunky sans serif, almost a display font, to really show the boldness of that fresh pieces of fruit in the word chills. And then I moved on into Photoshop, where I started to create mock-up for our little lolly here, and I showed you how you create your own, but I also jumped into a beautiful popsicle mock-up by Studio Yorktown that you can find on Behance, and then I moved on to creating a full advert. Now, the reason why I was like, please Andrew, give me 1 more minute, is because I wanted to add bubbles. So I actually have bubbles in my lovely little ice lolly here. So when we play the advert, we have our lemon moving and also our bubbles in the pool.
That's
and
so fun.
That was it. Are we right on time to say goodbye, I guess?
Yeah, we have like 1 more minute. So in chat, let us know what you liked, what you loved, what resonated with you. We won't pick a winner. We're all winners here. But let us know which was the more fun for you. I don't know. Yeah, pick your favorite, and it will be your favorite, and everyone can have their own favorite, and yay for all that. So yeah, thanks for hanging out today. This was super fun. Kladi and I had a blast. I had a blast. Did you have a blast, Kladi?
Yes, it was so much fun, Andrew. Thank you so much for having me. Hopefully we can have another battle soon.
Yes. So we're going to sign off in just a second here, but looking at the schedule real quick, again, one more time. That's not the schedule. There we go. We have Peter Del Tondo coming up next. We're doing that giveaway for Templeton or any other of my fonts. You can go ahead and drop the ghost emoji in chat when Peter goes live. So in about 5 minutes, wait till then. And then Kyle Webster will be up, and I'll be back at 3 o'clock dressed as Chun-Li from Street Fighter to do our design off challenge. I am making something so insanely and incredibly ugly that it might be cool. So tune back in for that. And yeah, Peter, I know you're standing in the waiting room waiting to go live. So chat's gonna hang out here, and we'll see you all guys later. Bye.
Yes, bye everyone. See you soon.